plans.
And whining's not going to fix it. So
The more
I'll
you talk
stop
about it,
doing
the the more you make plans, the worse it gets.
Well, no plans this weekend. We're just going to enjoy the snow. How's that?
Well, that's kind of my message: is
Yeah.
everybody stay home, get your bread and milk today and tomorrow, and then just close her down.
The cold is kind of coming tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes, so we'll hit cold first, and then the weather will come in shortly after that, is what we've been told so far. So the National Weather Service is having a briefing like they do with most severe storms, whether it's predicted thunderstorms or winter storms today at 2 o'clock. So we'll have some more information after that. And somewhat you take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, there's private meteorologists out there now, and just a simple Instagram search, not even Facebook or anything else that I don't have, but the Instagram, there's all sorts of pictures, and you have to look at what's the latest. The system has shifted to the north, which kind of is where people are like, well, where'd this come from? The system shifted to the north, and then that's where the heavy snow is. So
I did see 3 models this morning, and I'm just going to be optimistic. One of them showed us not getting anything.
Correct. And it seems like one model is extreme, like you're going to be buried in 4 feet of snow. One is like you're going to get an inch, and then there's one in the middle somewhere. So it's tough. It's one of those jobs where you just kind of take a big guess at it and see what happens. But from our perspective as emergency responders and medical professionals, it's stay in.
That's right. Stay in, stay warm, get your French toast, and
right, whatever you
ready
want.
To go. That's right.
Milk, bread, eggs, you can pretty much do anything with. The severe cold is just going to kind of be this, icing on the bad cake, so to speak, of what it is. Obviously that brings more concern with everybody. Again, making sure you have proper heat, making sure you can get to the warming station. At the Decatur County Health Department, it will be open with the severe cold. Those are the big things. Making sure that if you do have to get out, you have blankets, you have potentially a battery pack for charging your cell phone and potentially your car, things like that. Making sure some non-perishable food, whether it's jerky or just some M&Ms, something, water.
And gas in your car.
Yeah, and full tank. If you're at a half a tank, top off. Because if you're stranded and stuck and you leave your car running to stay warm, you're going to need that fuel. We have seen this time and time again. Some people will call their own wreckers. We'll call wreckers for people, but there's only so many wreckers to go around to winch people out. So really do think twice about, do I need to get out? Do I need to go somewhere? There's only so many plows and everything else to go around. We're not really seeing and hearing a whole lot about wind, which is good, so that'll keep snow from blowing and drifting, but the amounts of snow that are being predicted are enough to create concern. And we know that the interstate and people traveling through is usually a large collector of slide-offs and incidents for us. And while it is our job, it is dangerous for us to be out there as well, as people continue at interstate speeds when traffic or when the road conditions are not suitable for interstate speeds. So the community has always been very good about heeding preparedness from emergency services and emergency management, and we just ask that again as we prepare for this. The less people out on the road is the less we have to get out, and is the safer people are.
It is. Use your head.
Yeah, I mean, slips, trips, and falls, broken bones, those things can change lives forever, and this is totally preventable. This is one of those things that we can see coming, and so it's our duty to make sure that we take precautions for that. And again, be smart. You can make your own decisions, but we're heeding and getting the warning out that this is looking severe, and initially kind to hunker down, and then if it doesn't, then you can adjust accordingly. But you're prepared to hunker down and kind of be held up for the weekend in doing this. And then the cold is going to stick around, so we're not going to see much snow melt, and so it's going to fall on the weekend. But again, we're going to have impacts throughout the week as we try to get some normality back to the schedule and to the roadways.
We're going to appreciate the winter wonderland that's going to stay around for a while.
Right, 51% finished, you said.
That's right. We are 51% and a smidge now. That was 2 days ago that we were 51%. So
we're closely approaching 52%.
That's right.
It's kind of depressing because I thought we were further than that. But
sorry.
It is getting lighter outside in the
mornings
morning.
are so much better.
Yes, easier to wake up.
It is.
And
get up and get
a
going.
little bit sunlight at night. So we're inching that way. So that is a good thing. We can.
And Groundhog's Day is coming, so we'll
boy.
No more.
Yes.
We thought we should have our own Groundhog's Day ceremony, but we're not really sure where you get a groundhog. That's like somewhat domesticated.
Yeah, there's a lot of beavers around here. I've not seen many groundhogs.
No, but we'd have to choose the right groundhog to say the right thing.
Correct. If not, we're going to cook him up.
That's the end of that groundhog. That's right. Exactly.
That's right. We're having groundhog stew the next day. So yeah, we've fire department we've started out being busy. We had a structure fire in the severe cold, and thanks to all our community partners for helping us out with that. Luckily, nobody was injured. We were there fighting it for about 2 hours, and it was a very cold 2 hours. But we've been busy with medical calls. A lot going on in the community. We've knock on wood, hit a little bit of a slowdown that we're hoping, and probably just jinxed ourselves in preparing for the weekend. But we take preparations ourselves, making sure that we've got all the right equipment, right gear, things like that. Obviously, this amount of snow will bring sledders, so where are you sledding at, things like that. We'll be out doing our ice water training and things like that. So it provides some unique opportunities for us to train and on things we never would normally can't because of weather, but it is one of those that we'll try to take advantage of that when we can. But single digits are just too cold really to be out there for any amount of time. Adding the wind and the wind chill on there is just very, very dangerous, and that goes to shoveling snow and things like that. We like when you shovel snow, when you shovel around your fire hydrants, but again, I also urge caution for that and making sure somebody is able to do that. As they say, you can't exercise without asking your doctor. Same for shoveling snow. It is a very stress-inducing to the heart to do that. So
it is. A lot of heart episodes happen during these kind of events. So.
Yes, I've in over 20 plus years, I've responded to many of those that sometimes you're just better off leaving it. So, again, make sure that if you are concerned about that, you have somebody to help do that and make sure that those things get done. But yeah, no, we've, we hit the ground running first of the year, and here we are almost in February, which is even crazier, is just the fact of the years just keep going by quicker and quicker.
They tick by. Now, you guys are you still in the process of hiring, or?
We are.
Okay.
So we are still in our hiring process. We started with 32, and then we went down to 10, or actually we went down to 29, and then down to 10. And those 10 just completed an 8-hour ride along with us, so they spent the day with us for 8 hours over the past 3 weeks. We've had visitors in, and so now our hiring committee is evaluating those and the feedback that we got from all the other firefighters that they work with, and then those 10 will be kind of ranked, and then we'll be moving those on to a Board of Works interview. And then from there, offering conditional offers of employment. So we're looking at, pretty much probably March, realistically, before to do that, and trying to get meetings settled and everything else. So hopefully by March we'll be bringing on some new hires and filling the voids that we do have. Currently we're 3 down now, and so everybody's working a little bit extra and harder, which we appreciate and is seen as that sacrifices the family and everything else, and it's not just about the little extra money for overtime. It's about the sacrifices that have to be made too. So we want to get people in the door and make sure that we're getting new hires out and getting them trained and ready to go to help kind of relieve that burden a little bit as we move forward.
It's a lot. And I think not everyone realizes you guys work 24-hour shifts.
Right.
So that takes a huge, because you're still then recovering the next 2 days, and it takes a lot of family time away.
It does. We see we've seen probably within the past 3 years more of not understanding maybe the job as much as people did previously. There's been a shift in really just I want my time off. I want my PTO. I'm going to take my PTO. I want to spend time with family. It's not we're not just working all the time and things like that. And we ask and make sure that they understand that it is a 24-hour shift, and it's easy to say yes, I understand, until you live it. And to the point, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of research out there now that shows that that first 24 hours is a recovery period from being on shift. You can, even if you sleep through the night and you don't get any calls, you probably don't sleep as well at work as you do at home. We try to make sure they've got comfortable living conditions and comfortable beds, and they each have separate bunks and all of that good stuff to help increase that. But sometimes there's just nothing like sleeping in your own bed at home. And so that first day, potentially can be a rest day. And then you really just have working that 24/48, you really just have quote unquote one day off. A majority of our members, work a second job, so they don't get the luxury of really having those days off. And so, while they might only work 9-10 days a month here, they're working every day, and those jobs continue to overlap, and sometimes it's you get a break where you can, and allowing short naps and allowing those rest and recovery periods are important to performance. As I said, that structure fire during this cold time took 2 hours, and well, that was just 2 hours. They were working intensely for 2 hours.
And in the cold, you just
Right.
add that to it.
Absolutely, pulling ceiling, climbing ladders, cutting holes in the roof. I mean, there was something going on all the time. And with our manpower that we have to use everybody all the time. We don't get the luxury of having 60 firefighters, with 20 just standing around and every 5 minutes moving forward and getting somebody else in there. And so that does take a toll. So allowing them to recover, because again, that cold just again takes it out of you.
And the fire gear it's heavy.
Correct. Yeah. There's anywhere from 60 to 80 pounds adding on to that you're wearing. Plus, if it gets wet, which most of the time it does, it's going to weigh more. And then you're dealing with freezing and things like that. Obviously, the water that pools on the helmet is going to freeze. Again, that's going to put more pressure on your neck, on your shoulders, and so yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where the toll on the body physiologically is high, and so making sure that they can do that. But yeah, we try to address the family situation and the work situation, and we, the guys are allowed to have their phones and stay in contact, because again, I think one shift we have seen change in the fire service, which is a good thing, is we're dropping this whole work's work, home, and you don't intertwine the two, realizing that you just can't do that. That it's practically impossible with the advent of the cell phone, of the Apple Watch, of just care and concern. You really can't flip that switch, nor maybe do you want to flip that switch and just quote unquote get away or escape from one or the other. You're with a phone, you're always findable, and you're always reachable.
Always.
Whether you choose to answer or not is a different story, but you always can be found. And making sure that we respect when they're off and try not to do that. But there's also times, again, a structure fire where hey, it's all hands on deck, and so it's imperative, especially as we see families and married individuals with kids and stuff like that apply, that they understand what this is. Not all of them come from a fire family or have it in the generations and understand. So, it is a shift, and it is our duty to make sure that they are aware of those things, because, we take for granted that they may know and they don't. And that's on us to make sure that we educate them.
It's a very different lifestyle.
It is. It is. And, I just doing some research and reading, and there's a lot of people that sign up for the job and don't truly understand what it's all about. Most everybody understands what a firefighter does for the most part, but that's really only that 10% of that part. They don't understand the mental toll, the physiological toll on the body, the training toll, again, sleeping at a firehouse for 24 hours and not going home at 8 to 5 or whatever the case may be, and being, having your family come visit you instead of coming home to your family, and, encouraging those things as we can, to do that, because, I mean, we're holistically, you have to make sure your employees are well taken care of, and that makes us a unique operation within city government, within any government that there is. We firefighters catch a lot of flack, mostly just ribbing, and there are some truths to that, and it's just a different world, that we are versus most of the other, a lot of places don't work 24-hour shifts.
No.
Usually it's emergency medical services, the fire services, other things like that. A lot of people work 12s and for 24 hours and do that, but not everybody gets to sleep at work.
That's right. Yep.
And that's okay. It's some people are like, oh, that sounds good. Sometimes it's not all it's cracked up to be. We have hours upon hours of boredom and training versus 2 hours of heavy work, but that 2 hours of work will sock you very, very quickly. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And so it's balancing those.
As you move through 2026, are there any retirees this year?
So Captain Trevor Cook is retiring. We don't have any other retirements on the books. There are several that are eligible for retirement that may or may not retire, and so obviously we wait to see what they decide to do.
Yeah.
And so we are making the shift to a younger department after multiple retirements that we have had, so they are slowing down. But they still do. We still have several people that are there, and so we have people with 26, 27, 28 years that are still giving us their all, and then we've got some that are hitting 20 and thinking about retirement and what's next for them, and moving on. So the goal is to successfully make it to retirement healthy and then move on. So it's not necessarily about how long can we go anymore. There's some people want that, and that's great, but again, it's a shift that we have seen of I've done my time, it's time for something else.
It's a time for a new chapter.
And that's very respectful, because the job is getting tougher. You're being asked to do more with less, as we talk budgets and we talk money and we hear all about that and we navigate those issues that are going on currently within the state of Indiana. But the runs are just getting more traumatic, unfortunately, and it's anecdotal only, but I think as people get older and I think we look at life a little more precious than what we used to, and I think a lot of that is just a generational shift. You start to see the effects of that. And it seems like in talking to my peers across the country, and even our firefighters, that, death is a little more special, I guess. And that sounds weird, but like it used to be, it's just, something that happens. Now a lot of it's looked at as, was that necessary?
Yes.
And some of that is the prevention that medical healthcare providers, public health, mental health is doing to raise awareness for that, and knowing like, some of this is senseless, and that takes a mental toll on people. I evaluate it differently over the 20 plus years that I've been in this of, wow, this was preventable, or wow, this was a very senseless death. And I think that wears on people, and you can only do that for so long. And I think, it's not a blame, but I think the shift from COVID really did that. Mm-hmm. Emergency responders, healthcare workers, we were all exposed to that, tenfold.
Yes.
To where, you used to not, watch people perish in front of you, and you started to.
It changed.
You couldn't, and I think it really changed, and there was a big paradigm shift within the response in that, and having to, seeing pictures of people, talking to loved ones through windows or standing outside staring at them. I think that shift has changed and has allowed these occupations and these professions to maybe look more as a job than a career. And that's unfortunate, because you lose a little bit of that, gonna dig down deep type
Right.
of thing, and but at the same time you can't disrespect it because at the end of the day, you know,
It's justified and it's solidified.
it's just yeah, absolutely. And so we see that, you know, with what we're doing, you know, and we're hiring, you know, we saw a lot of post 9/11 people come in, and now we're hiring people that were not alive in 9/11, you know, and that's still strange to me to look at dates of birth and be like, wow, they don't, you know, like they're reading about it in history books where we lived it.
Exactly.
And you know, and so you know, you ask about that, and you know, did that have any effect? And it's like, what, you know,
Yeah, it's not near the impact as what it was.
no, for sure. And so, but you know, the new thing now is COVID, you know, and you know, well, this is what I had to do as a kid and things like that. So it's always changing. It's always, you know, and so I think we do see and will see an uptick in retirements at the 20 and out, as we say. For some of that reason. And you know, you can't blame that, is because if you're in the position to be able to do that, then go for it.
Do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Belize is calling.
I will not disagree with that ever.
Yeah.
And we've both been in our respective careers a long time, and
Yeah.
it does. COVID was a game changer, and
Oh yeah, I don't
and
look
you
at
just mentally you
things
can
as
only take so much for so long. I think.
right. And it's now okay to say enough is enough,
Yep.
where it used to not be.
You guys are doing a great job over there.
We appreciate it. Thank you. We appreciate your community partnership, and look forward to hanging out through the year through
Yeah.
all our events that we do. So
I know. Again, I tried Groundhog's Day, but it didn't work.
yeah. Well,
You know,
here's the man
kinda-
with the answers right
I know.
there.
He better
so,
have the right answer. Randy
yeah,
better have the right answer.
Yeah, you better let him know that you got stuff to do.
I got stuff to do. That's right.
Well, good luck with that, and everybody be safe. And again, WTRE will have the weather information. And again, if our public safety partners need to get something out, we'll be hollering at you guys.
All right.
All right,
safe
thank
and
you much.
warm.
Yep.
We've got news up next, and then Randy.